Let me ask you a hard question. When was the last time you made yourself the number one priority? It's not your job, not your phone, not their opinion. You. Your answer takes longer than a second to find. That's a red flag. It means you've been living your life reactively, not intentionally. And that's exactly why you feel stuck, distracted, or burned out. This isn't about selfishness, it's about self-respect. And until you learn to focus on you, your habits, your healing, your hustle, nothing is going to change. So let's get to it. You are the project. That's the truth most people spend their whole lives running from. They'll point fingers, they'll make excuses, they'll shift blame to their childhood, their boss, their partner, the economy, the weather, even the traffic, because it's easier to think that something outside is broken than to accept that the thing holding them back might be themselves. But until you realize that you are the one who needs the work, nothing changes. Let's break this down. Every result in your life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, is a direct reflection of the standards you've set, the habits you've built, and the choices you make day after day. That means the way you manage your time, the thoughts you allow to dominate your mind, the people you let into your space, the boundaries you either enforce or ignore. It's all shaping your reality. You are not just living life, you're building it, whether consciously or not. Most people go through life like it's a waiting room, waiting for someone to notice them, to save them, to give them a shot. But the truth, no one's coming. Not because people don't care, but because it's not their job. Your success is not their responsibility. It's yours. And once you grasp that, you stop waiting and start working. This is the shift from victim to creator, from passive to active, from why is this happening to me to what can I do with this? Here's where the education kicks in. Think of yourself like a startup company. If you were launching a business, you'd do research. You'd invest time, energy, and capital into making it work. You'd learn from your failures. You'd adjust. You'd test new strategies. You'd keep showing up even when no one noticed. And you'd know, without a doubt, that the business won't grow unless you grow with it. Now apply that to your own life. Why is it that we'll pour effort into work, into relationships, into appearances, but won't put that same energy into ourselves? Why is it that we'll spend thousands on clothes and tech and entertainment, but we hesitate to invest in a book, a course, a coach, something that could expand our mindset? Because it's easier to chase quick fixes than to face our own potential. Growth is uncomfortable. It reveals where you're slipping, where you're lazy, where you're stuck in patterns that don't serve you. But discomfort is a classroom. If you want to win, you need to sit in that seat, take notes, and do the homework. And here's the truth most won't tell you. Nobody is born ready. Nobody starts with it all figured out. Every person who's crushing it today started with self-doubt, fear, and flaws. The difference is they didn't stay there. They made a decision to treat themselves like a project worth building. They stopped outsourcing their confidence to the opinions of others. They stopped hiding behind distractions. They took ownership not just of their goals, but of who they were becoming. This isn't about being selfish. It's about being self-responsible. When you take care of your growth, your mindset, your health, your energy, you show up better in every area of your life. You become a better partner, leader, parent, friend, and human being. But it starts with you, always. Let's get practical. That means creating a routine that supports your future, not just your feelings. That means doing the hard things, like waking up early, saying no to junk input, studying, building discipline, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it, because that's when it matters most. It means taking radical responsibility for your choices. You didn't get enough sleep? That's on you. You wasted 2 hours on your phone? That's on you. You let fear stop you from applying, pitching, showing up, or speaking out? Again, that's on you. And while that might sound harsh, it's actually freeing. Because the moment you accept full responsibility is the moment you take full control. Here's something powerful. You are not broken. You don't need fixing, but you do need focus. You need to stop waiting to feel ready and start acting like your future depends on it, because it does. You are capable of growth, but you have to want it more than you want comfort. You have to crave progress more than you crave distractions. And most importantly, you have to be willing to outgrow the version of you that's keeping you stuck. This is the season where you stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what if I win? This is the moment you decide to be under construction on purpose. This is where you stop being reactive and start being intentional. You are the project. And the investment you make in yourself is the one that pays dividends for the rest of your life. The sooner you get to work on you, the better everything else gets. Are you ready to build the version of you that wins? You can't control everything in life, but that's not a limitation, it's a truth that will set you free once you fully embrace it. Too many people spend their energy stressing about the wrong things. They obsess over outcomes they can't guarantee, timelines they can't predict, and other people's reactions they can't manage. It's a fast track to burnout and disappointment. But here's the real game changer. When you shift your focus from trying to control everything to mastering what you can control, everything changes. What you can control is your effort, your focus, your discipline, your response. That's it. But that's more than enough. Because when you control what's yours to own, you regain power over your life. This is where results are created. This is where momentum is built. And this is where people start to separate themselves from the pack. Winners don't obsess about outcomes. They obsess about input. They don't ask, will this work? They ask, did I show up today at my best? And let's be honest, controlling effort isn't always easy. Some days you won't feel like doing anything. You'll want to wait until you're in the mood, until you're inspired, until life calms down. But let me tell you something that will save you years. Discipline doesn't care about your mood. The most powerful thing you can do for your future is to show up, especially when you don't feel like it. That's when you build the kind of character and strength that doesn't flinch in the face of difficulty. That's when the results start showing up. Quietly at first, then suddenly, all at once. Your focus is another thing fully in your control, but let's not pretend it's easy in this world. We live in an attention economy where everything is fighting for your mind. Notifications, messages, ads, headlines, they're all pulling you away from your goals, and unless you fight back, you'll lose hours of your life to meaningless distractions. Think about this. How much of your time is spent reacting instead of creating, consuming instead of building, scrolling instead of moving? If you don't guard your focus, it will be stolen. And once your focus goes, your direction goes with it. You stop moving with purpose. You start drifting. And the thing about drifting is it never takes you anywhere worth going. But when you start setting boundaries, when you learn to say no, when you start giving your goals the same attention you give your phone, everything changes. You start reclaiming your time. You start making progress. And you start becoming the person you're actually meant to be. Now let's talk about attitude. Your mindset, your energy, your emotional discipline. That's on you. You may not get to choose what happens to you, but you always get to choose how you respond. Life's going to hit you. People will disappoint you. Plans will fall apart. That's a given. What's not guaranteed is how you respond to those moments. Some people crumble. Others adjust. The difference isn't strength, it's ownership. One person says, "Why is this happening to me?" The other says, "What can I do with this?" If you can develop that kind of response, you become unstoppable. You become someone who doesn't just survive pressure, you grow under it. That doesn't mean pretending to be okay when you're not. It means being honest, then deciding to act anyway, to lead yourself, to keep moving forward, even in uncertainty. That's the core of controlling the controllables. It's self-leadership. It's recognizing that while you don't always get to choose your environment, you always get to choose your effort, your focus, your attitude. That's where your growth lives. That's where confidence is built. Not from praise, but from keeping promises to yourself, from showing up when it's hard, from doing the work when no one's watching. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, pause. Ask yourself, what can I control right now? Maybe you can't control the result of the job interview, but you can control how well you prepare. Maybe you can't fix a broken relationship today, but you can control how you show up in the next conversation. Maybe you can't guarantee a breakthrough in your business this week, but you can control whether or not you stay consistent with your plan. The people who win in life are the ones who stop blaming and start owning. They stop waiting and start working. They understand this: control the controllables, and the uncontrollables often take care of themselves. This isn't about perfection. It's about power. It's about showing up today with what you've got, doing what you can, and trusting that the effort will pay off. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually, always. Your life is shaped in the small, silent decisions you make every single day. What you say yes to, what you ignore, what you choose to believe, and how hard you're willing to try. You don't need to control everything. You just need to own you. And that's more than enough to change your life. Most people are walking around waiting for someone to tell them it's okay to go for it, waiting for permission to take a risk, to pursue a dream, to leave that relationship, to start over, to speak up, to lead. And the painful truth is this: no one is coming to save you. No one is going to show up one day, tap you on the shoulder and say, "Now's the time. You're good enough. Go ahead." That's a fantasy. And the longer you wait, the more time you lose. Every time you hesitate, every time you ask someone what they think before you make a move, every time you look outside yourself for answers, you hand over your power. And it's subtle. You probably don't even realize you're doing it. You think you're being responsible, gathering advice, getting opinions, but what you're really doing is avoiding the discomfort of trusting yourself. And that's dangerous. See, when you live your life seeking validation, you're living on borrowed confidence. It means your belief in yourself only exists when someone else agrees with you. That's shaky ground to build a life on. Because the second someone disagrees, the second someone criticizes you or questions your choices, your entire foundation collapses. That's why you feel stuck. That's why you keep second guessing everything. Because you've trained yourself to believe that other people know better, that their approval determines your worth, that they have the final say. But let's be clear about something: they don't. They never did. You've been carrying this idea that you're not ready, that you need more time, more experience, more certainty. But that's not true. You don't need more of anything. What you need is to stop outsourcing your power and start reclaiming your voice. That power you keep looking for, you already have it. It's not in a mentor. It's not in a book. It's not in someone else's success story. It's in your ability to decide, to trust your gut, to act on your instincts, to lead yourself even when you're scared, unsure, and imperfect. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Owning your decisions means owning your mistakes too. It means taking full responsibility. But it also means you finally step into your life with both feet. No more 1 foot in, 1 foot out. No more waiting for a sign. You become the sign. There will always be people who don't get it, who doubt you, who tell you to play it safe, be realistic, or wait your turn. That's fine. Let them. Their opinion isn't your obstacle unless you let it be. Most people are too afraid to go after what they want, and they will project that fear onto you, not because they want you to fail, but because your courage challenges their comfort zone. Your growth reminds them of what they're not doing. So what do? You stop explaining. You stop defending. You stop waiting. You make the choice to move, to speak, to begin, and you do it without applause, without consensus, without needing everyone to understand, because you understand that's enough. Let me tell you what happens when you stop outsourcing your power. You get your time back, your clarity, your momentum. You stop living reactively and start moving proactively. You build self-trust, the kind that doesn't crumble when things get hard. You start making decisions based on your values, not your fears. And most importantly, you start living a life that is yours, not one you inherited, not one you were pressured into, but one you chose. Fully, consciously, courageously. No more asking for permission, not to dream big, not to set boundaries, not to walk away from what no longer fits, not to reinvent yourself at any age, any stage. You do not need a green light. You want to win, you want to grow, then you have to be willing to bet on yourself, even when no one else is, especially when no one else is. That's what self-leadership looks like. It's not flashy. It's not always glamorous. It's often lonely, but it's the only way to rise. Because the truth is, the people you admire, the ones who built something great, overcame the odds, made a difference, they weren't waiting for permission. They gave themselves the go-ahead and they figured the rest out along the way. You can too. But it starts right now. It starts with a decision. No more waiting. Not for clarity, not for certainty, not for the right time or the perfect plan. You move, you act, you speak, you lead. And when that little voice shows up, the one that says, "Who do you think you are?" you answer it clearly. I'm someone who stopped outsourcing my power. I'm someone who decided to believe in myself first. And that changes everything. Every time you reach for your phone without thinking, every time you scroll for just a minute, every time you check out and drift into someone else's life instead of building your own, you are trading your potential for distraction. And that trade is robbing you of your greatness, silently and consistently. The truth is, you're not tired because you're working too hard. You're tired because your focus is constantly fractured. Your attention is split 100 different ways. And the worst part? Most of those distractions aren't even important. They're habits, automatic, unconscious, and they are quietly killing your dreams. Let's be real. Distraction is the most seductive form of procrastination. It feels harmless. It feels like a break. It feels like you're just catching your breath or relaxing for a second. But it's not a break if it becomes your pattern. It's not rest if it leads to regret. Every time you interrupt your focus, you lose momentum. And momentum is everything. Think about that. Every time you lose your train of thought, every time you pull your attention away from the thing that matters, you're not just starting over, you're starting slower, because your brain now has to fight its way back to clarity, and it gets harder every time. You have to understand how high the cost is. We like to act like we're victims of distraction, like we're just too busy, too connected, too overwhelmed. But we have to take responsibility, because your future, the version of you that has what you want, is not spending 3 hours a day in the comments section. They're not checking their phone every 10 minutes for notifications. They're not giving away their mental energy to opinions that don't even matter. They're locked in. They're focused. They're unavailable to everything that doesn't align with the mission. You've got to start treating your focus like your life depends on it, because it does. Focus isn't a nice to have anymore. It's a superpower. And the world is working overtime to steal it from you. Every app, every ad, every ping and notification is designed to hijack your brain. You are literally being trained to lose your ability to concentrate. And if you don't actively protect it, you will wake up one day with a life full of distraction and nothing to show for it. Here's what no one wants to admit. Success is boring. Mastery is repetitive. Growth is often invisible. That's why distraction is so dangerous. It gives you a fake sense of stimulation. It tricks your brain into thinking you're engaged, you're entertained, maybe even productive, but it's all noise. Empty galleries for your mind, and it leaves you hungry for progress that never comes. If you want to change your life, if you want to win, you have to get serious about building focus like a muscle. That means creating boundaries. That means saying no more often. That means removing the triggers, the apps, the tabs, the endless options, and giving yourself the gift of a single task done with intensity. Multitasking is a lie. You're not doing multiple things at once. You're doing all of them badly. The ability to sit with one thing, one goal, one problem, and stay there, that is where real breakthroughs happen, but most people never get there because they can't stand the stillness. They mistake quiet for boredom. They confuse solitude with loneliness. And the moment it gets uncomfortable, they grab their phone, check a feed, open a new tab, and reset the clock on their focus. Again and again and again. You don't rise to the level of your motivation, you fall to the level of your habits. So ask yourself, are your habits built for deep focus, or are they designed for constant interruption? If your environment is full of noise, if your time is unguarded, if your mind is scattered, then distraction isn't the exception, it's the default. And that default will steal everything you say you want. There's no hack for this, no app that's going to save you from yourself. You have to decide right now, are you going to keep living reactively, jumping from one dopamine hit to the next, or are you going to choose the discipline of focus? Are you willing to be unavailable to the noise? Are you willing to be bored so you can become brilliant? Because the truth is, your best ideas, your breakthroughs, they don't show up when you're distracted. They show up in the quiet. They show up when your brain finally has room to think. Focus isn't flashy. It won't get you instant gratification, but it will get you results. And those results, they compound, just like distraction does. You're always building something. You're either building momentum or you're building regret. You're either investing in your future or you're feeding your fear. Every moment counts. So the next time you feel that impulse to check out, to scroll, to switch tasks, to run, pause, just pause and ask yourself, is this taking me closer to who I want to be? Or is this just another escape? And then make the choice. Because greatness is not found in the big moments. It's found in the thousands of small ones. And every time you choose focus over distraction, you are casting a vote for the future you. So cast wisely. You don't need to be born talented to win. You don't need some magical gift or genius level IQ. What you need is simple but rare consistency. The ability to show up day after day, even when you're tired, unmotivated, frustrated, or unsure. That's the real edge. That's what separates people who talk about success from people who live it. See, the world has this strange obsession with talent. We praise the naturally gifted. We put the spotlight on those who seem to have it, the overnight sensations, the quick wins, the viral moments. But we overlook the quiet, relentless ones, the people who just keep showing up. They're not flashy, they're not loud, but they're steady. They do the work, rain or shine. And eventually, they're the ones who win. Talent might give you a head start, but consistency is what gets you across the finish line. Because talent fades if it's not developed. Potential means nothing if it's not put to use. You've probably known someone who was wildly talented and still didn't make it. You've probably seen someone with fewer resources, less natural ability, maybe even less support, but they kept grinding, they kept learning, they kept improving, and they passed everyone else by. That's not a coincidence. That's the compound effect of consistency. Consistency builds trust, not just with others, but with yourself. Every time you show up, even when it's hard, you're proving to yourself that you can be counted on, that you're reliable, that your word means something. And that matters, because the biggest battle most people face is internal. It's not the competition, it's not the industry, it's not the obstacles, it's the voice inside their head that says, you're not good enough. Every rep, every session, every disciplined decision is evidence that voice is wrong. But here's the truth most people won't tell you. Consistency is boring. It's repetitive. It's unglamorous. It's waking up early when you'd rather sleep in. It's practicing the basics when you'd rather skip ahead. It's showing up for the 5th, 15th, or 50th time with no applause, no recognition, and no results. Yet, it's doing the work even when you feel like nothing is changing and trusting that it eventually will. That's where most people quit. Not because they can't, but because they won't. They want excitement. They want instant results. They want quick wins. But success doesn't work like that. It rewards the patient. It rewards the consistent. You need to get obsessed with the process. Fall in love with showing up, not for the outcome, but for the growth, for the discipline, or who you become every time you choose consistency over comfort. Because here's the thing, success doesn't come from intensity, it comes from rhythm. You don't need to go 100 miles every day, you just need to stop stopping, one foot in front of the other, every single day, and the more you do it, the more momentum you build. Momentum is magic. Once you build it, things that used to feel hard start to feel natural. The habits that were once forced become automatic. The work becomes part of your identity. You stop saying, I have to do this, and start saying, this is just who I am. That's the power of consistency. It changes how you see yourself. And once your identity shifts, your actions follow. You no longer need motivation because you've built a system, you've built a standard, and you live by it. Don't wait until you feel like it. If you only work when you're motivated, you'll lose to the person who works no matter how they feel. Motivation is fleeting. It's emotional. It comes and goes. Discipline, on the other hand, is a decision. It's a commitment. It's saying, no matter what, I'll show up. And that's what builds character. That's what builds results. That's what builds winners. Think about the most successful people you admire. They didn't get there by chance. They didn't just wake up and find themselves at the top. They put in hours, days, years of unseen work. They failed, they adjusted, they kept going. What you see now is just the visible part, the outcome. But behind that outcome is 1,000 invisible, consistent decisions. You don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to become great. And once you start, you have to keep going, even when it's hard, even when no one's watching, even when you feel like quitting, because that's what separates the people who get close from the people who cross the finish line. You want to win? Then stop chasing motivation and start practicing consistency. Stop trying to be perfect and start showing up. Do the reps, do the work, stack the small wins. Every time you show up, you're getting better. Every time you push through, you're building strength. And eventually, all those tiny actions will add up. One day the results will show. One day the world will notice. But by then, it won't even matter because you'll already know you were capable all along. Consistency beats talent when talent doesn't show up. So if you want to win, stop waiting for perfect and start becoming unstoppable one consistent day at a time. People talk about time management like it's the secret to getting ahead. But let me tell you something that most people miss. It's not just about managing your time. It's about protecting your energy. because time is fixed, but energy is what fuels every single thing you do. And if your energy is scattered, drained, or constantly hijacked by things that don't matter, you could have all the time in the world and still get nowhere. You know this already. You've had days where you technically had hours free, but still didn't do anything meaningful. Why? Because your energy was off. Maybe you were burned out. Maybe you were emotionally drained by something someone said. Maybe you let your morning get hijacked by a scroll session on your phone and suddenly your whole mindset felt off. That's not a time problem. That's an energy problem. And the worst part, most of us are giving our energy away like we've got an unlimited supply. Spoiler alert, you don't. Every single day you wake up with a limited amount of focus, mental bandwidth, emotional resilience, and physical stamina. And everything, every decision, every person, every habit either charges you or drains you. That's why it's not selfish to protect your energy. It's necessary. It's survival. But here's the truth. Most people don't want to hear. Protecting your energy will make you uncomfortable. It'll mean saying no when you're used to people pleasing. It'll mean backing away from people who've had full access to you, even though they never respected your boundaries. It'll mean cutting off habits that give you a quick dopamine hit, but leave you mentally fried. That's the hard part. The easy thing is to keep going with what's familiar. Even if it's killing your focus, your motivation, your drive, you have to start treating your energy like it's gold. Think of it like a bank account. Would you let random people walk up and withdraw money from your bank all day long? Of course not. But that's exactly what we do when we let negative people dominate our conversations, when we say yes to things we don't mean, when we answer every notification, and when we give our time to distractions that offer nothing in return. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you're saying no to something that matters. That's the shift, realizing that your energy is a currency. And if you're constantly in overdraft, don't be surprised when your goals feel impossible to reach. Start paying attention to what fuels you and what drains you. This is where self-awareness becomes your superpower. Take inventory. After you talk to someone, ask yourself, do I feel lighter or heavier? After you scroll on social media, ask, do I feel inspired or insecure? After you eat that food, binge that show, skip that workout, are you proud or are you spiraling? Stop living on autopilot and start getting intention. Sometimes it's not the big things that are draining us. Sometimes it's death by 1,000 cuts. That one friend who always complains, that inbox that never ends, that habit of checking your phone the second you open your eyes. These are leaks. And just like a leaking pipe will flood your house over time, leaking energy will flood your mind with stress, anxiety, and burnout. You need to fix the leaks. You need to give yourself permission to choose peace over people-pleasing. You need to stop justifying habits that leave you feeling worse than before. You need to stop treating burnout like a badge of honor. Because here's the truth. No one's impressed by your exhaustion. You don't get a trophy for running yourself into the ground. You get a wake-up call. If you don't make time to protect your energy, life will make time for it through breakdowns, through burnout, through health scares, through missed opportunities. And let me be clear, protecting your energy isn't just about saying no to things. It's also about saying yes to the things that fill you up, the habits that reconnect you with your purpose, the silence that clears your head, the workouts that rebuild your strength, the boundaries that protect your peace. This is how you win. Not with more hustle, not with more hours, with better energy. You're not lazy, you're not unmotivated. You're just distracted, drained, and disconnected from what matters. And the moment you start honoring your energy like the lifeline it is, everything changes. You show up stronger, you think clearer, you move With purpose instead of panic, you stop reacting and start creating. So don't wait until you're burned out to start valuing your energy. Don't wait until your health, your relationships, or your dreams fall apart. Start now. Say no without guilt. Log off without apology. Make time for your mind, and most importantly, give yourself permission to protect your energy like your life depends on it. Because it does. Waiting for the perfect time is one of the biggest lies we tell ourselves. We convince ourselves that once everything aligns, once we feel ready, once the circumstances improve, once the fear goes away, then we'll finally start. But let me be clear. Perfection is the enemy of progress. It's a trap disguised as preparation. And the longer you wait for everything to feel right, the longer you postpone your breakthrough. If you want to change your life, you've got to stop chasing perfect. Perfect isn't real. Perfect is a myth. It's fear wearing a mask. It's procrastination dressed up in productivity. And it's the reason one of the things people stay stuck. They want the perfect business plan before they launch, the perfect routine before they start working out, the perfect mood before they do the hard thing. But you don't need perfect. You need action. And action, even when it's clumsy, messy, and uncertain, is what builds momentum. Progress is the real goal. Small wins, tiny improvements, forward motion. And here's the truth most people ignore. Consistent progress compounds. That 5-minute workout you did today, it matters. That one uncomfortable call you finally made, it counts. That journal entry you almost skipped but wrote anyway, that's growth. We don't rise by doing it perfectly. We rise by doing it consistently, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. When you chase perfection, you waste precious energy trying to control things that don't even matter. You obsess over how you look instead of what you're learning. You overthink every move instead of making any. You spend so much time polishing your idea that you forget to test it. And then the moment passes, the window closes, the motivation fades, and you're left in the same place, just more frustrated and disappointed than before. Progress is messy. It's filled with missteps, awkward attempts, and moments where you don't feel ready at all. But those are the moments that build resilience. That's where growth happens. When you do the thing anyway, when you show up with doubt in your chest and fear in your stomach and still take one more step forward, that's power. That's how you become the person you're trying to become. Think about any skill you've ever learned. Whether it was riding a bike, learning to drive, or speaking in public, you didn't get it right the first time. You didn't wait for the perfect time to practice. You tried, you failed, you adjusted, and then you tried again. That's how progress works. That's how winning works. So if you're waiting for your fear to disappear before you take action, you'll be waiting forever. Fear doesn't leave. Confidence isn't what you need to begin, it's what you earn by starting without it. The goal isn't to eliminate fear, it's to stop letting fear make your decisions for you. And perfectionism is just fear in a nice outfit. It looks like standards, it sounds like preparation, but what it really is, it's fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. And that fear only grows the more you feed it. You don't need to be flawless. You need to be in motion. Even if that motion is slow, even if it's uncertain, even if you stumble, fall, and get back up. Because every step forward, no matter how small, builds your belief in yourself. Every rep makes you stronger. Every awkward try makes you braver. Start ugly, start uncertain, start with what you have, where you are, take the first step and then take another. Don't wait for clarity. Don't wait for confidence. Don't wait for the stars to align. You are not behind. You are not late. You're just one decision away from building momentum. Here's what you need to understand. Perfect doesn't scale. It doesn't last. because it's not real. But progress, real, gritty, imperfect progress, creates results. And results build self-respect. They build grit. They build momentum. You don't need another plan. You need a push. You need to do the thing you've been avoiding, not next week, not next year, today. Because the most dangerous place to live is in the land of almost started, almost tried, almost change. Make the call, record the video, send the email, start the workout, write the first chapter, launch the project, stop planning your life and start building it. No, it won't be perfect, but it will be progress, and that's what matters most. Because the person who makes steady progress will always outpace the person who's still waiting to make it perfect. The season you're in right now might feel lonely. You might feel like no one notices the work you're doing, the hours you're putting in, the sacrifices you're making. It's quiet, it's repetitive, it's exhausting. And here's the truth. That's exactly where you're supposed to be. This is the grind season, the isolation season, the season where nothing on the outside looks different, but everything on the inside is shifting. You see, winners aren't made when the cameras are on. They're made in silence, in private, in the early mornings when no one else is awake, in the late nights when the world is asleep, in the moments when you choose discipline over distraction, growth over comfort, and progress over applause. That's where champions are built. Everyone wants the success story, but no one wants to sit through the chapters where the character is alone, uncertain, and working their face off with no guarantee of anything. But those chapters are where it all happens. Because it's easy to show up when people are watching. It's easy to look motivated when you're getting recognition, likes, or support. But real winners, they show up when no one's watching. They do the reps when no one's clapping. They grind in the dark so they can shine in the light. Right now, you might feel overlooked, but being overlooked is a gift. It gives you the space to build. No pressure, no noise, just you and the work. And here's the truth. The version of you that's going to win, that version is being forged right now. Not when you get the opportunity, not when life hands you a break, but in the choices you're making today when no one's watching. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And systems are built in solitude, in that quiet place where it's just you and your habits, you and your calendar, you and your internal dialogue. That's the work that no one sees, but it's the only work that really matters. And here's something you need to understand. Isolation doesn't mean something is wrong. It doesn't mean you're broken or behind. It often means you're in the middle of a transformation. The caterpillar doesn't grow wings in front of a crowd. It goes into the cocoon alone, and it stays there, not for a day, not for a week, but until the transformation is done. And when it finally comes out, it's not crawling anymore. It's flying. That's what this season is about. It's about becoming. So stop trying to rush through it. Stop comparing your quiet season to someone else's highlight reel. They might be on chapter 20, but you're building your foundation. And foundations are slow. They're not flashy. No one posts about them. But they are what make the skyscrapers stand tall when the storms hit. If you build deep, you can rise high, but that requires patience. That requires discipline. That requires solitude. And let's be honest, most people won't get it. They'll wonder why you're not going out, why you're not answering texts, why you're saying no more than yes. But that's because they're not on your path. You don't owe them an explanation. You owe yourself a future that matches your potential. And that requires sacrifice. Isolation isn't punishment. It's preparation. The universe removes distractions before it delivers purpose. So if you feel like people are fading away, like certain doors are closing, or like your world is getting smaller, good. That means your focus is narrowing. That means your energy is being recentered. You can't fly carrying everyone else's expectations. You can't evolve while clinging to old habits. You need space